Would you use a very limited colour palette on this?
Yes, probably. I mean, it's very, the greens are all very soft, aren't they? They're very sort of muted. I think he's used quite a bit of raw sienna or yellow ochre. I think he's used a little bit of aureolin yellow. And I also think he's used possibly Prussian blue and a tiny bit of alizarin for the grey, which is right on the horizon.
That's only really 4 colours, isn't it?
Yes. I don't know. I mean, I like to have, I've got, all my colours here and I wet them all. I put water on them all. So I've got them available if I need them, but I doubt I'll use them all.
Yeah, I see.
I just have a little image, which was from the book. Okay. I couldn't enlarge it up on our printer, so it's small. So I thought, well, I need to just have a look at this. So I didn't want to do a full complicated grid, and I didn't want to have to trace it because I thought this is going to be pointless tracing it because it's not going to be the right size. So I divided it up vertically and horizontally. So I've got a sense of where things are on that picture plane. Right. Yes. And what I noticed, and I'm sure you'll if you do this as well, is that the horizon line, which is this sort of this grey blue in the distance here, and the top of this sort of dark green bit here, it's below the halfway line.
Yes.
So he's emphasizing the size of the sky again. The sky in a landscape, undoubtedly, this sort of landscape gives it a sense of space.
Yeah.
A feeling of space and airiness, would you not say?
Yes.
So I just thought it was helpful to have a grid both on here and on my actual drawing. So I've got a grid here as well, which is equivalent, halfway. And I've then just drawn up this landscape really quickly, I have to add, onto here. And what I did, there was just one thing I noticed about, the shapes over here. The trees on the right-hand side do come above the halfway line. They actually invade the sky space a little bit.
Yeah.
So they give a bit of height in the landscape, but the rest of it has a very horizontal feel. The other thing to notice, and I think if you haven't indicated it in your drawing, in the foreground here, there's a suggestion of diagonals which give the sense of a track going into this area here in the middle, and the green does the same thing. So I actually put some sort of diagonal lines into here, like he has, to indicate those sort of shapes in the foreground. Again, that it looks as though it's sort of inviting you to go into this middle distance.
Yes,
without you actually realizing it.
Yeah.
Can you all see that? Nod if you can. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you are at a point that you're ready to start painting, please, I think we should all aim to try and start together just at the beginning, and then you can work at your own speed as we go along. So because mine was so small, it was pointless doing a tracing in the end. I had to just rely on drawing it freehand and judging the spaces between things and trying and relating it to that very simple initial grid. So I did actually also divide up this into 4 sections, and I noticed that the bit above the horizon is a quarter of all this, and then all these others quite conveniently fitted into I just divided it into 4. 1, can't see where that, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
And
yeah.
it was just helpful. I mean, it's not desperately accurate, but it's not bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's got a very pale mix of raw sienna, one colour. And then there's a sort of very nice, warm, pale dove grey.
Yeah, a purpley colour.
And then there's a purpley grey as well. But I think if you put the raw sienna down first, that will help to define where the white cloud shape is, first of all. And I think I would take the raw sienna or yellow ochre, whatever you've got, over everything apart from where you want it white.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do keep it pale, because you don't want it to affect what you put on over it too much, and it will affect anything that goes over it. So I've drawn up I'll just bring the board down a fraction. I've drawn up this here, which is the cloud shape here. And I'm going to be, and there's another one here. I'm going to be absolutely careful not to get any water on that area. So I keep it white, but at the same time, when I put the colour in here, the raw sienna, I'm going to possibly soften it or lift off at the light before the line with a damp brush. So that's two things. So maybe those of you that are ready to drop colour in, I'll just say that again. I would paint the raw sienna mix, which should be very pale. Just stop it just before the line, and then get a damp brush and then feather it up to the line with your damp, clean brush. So there's no colour on the other brush. So one brush for putting the colour on, and the other brush for just feathering the edge up to the line. Put a bit more in. On the right-hand side, it looks like there's a little bit stronger mixture of raw sienna running under those purpley colours. But over here on the left, it's really pale. And remember, it will dry even paler. I mean, I think possibly dry your test piece, see what it looks like. And if you feel it's too pale, add a drop more colour in it. But I wouldn't add much. I keep it pale because that's the feeling of this. You know, it's not blue, the sky. It's sort of, I don't know, it's a warm raw sienna with grey purpley colours on it. I think that's actually as strong as it needs to be. It doesn't need to be any stronger than that. If it's almost the colour of my masking tape, if you can see that. Sorry, it's there, that one there. Now, there's my printout. I mean, the colours possibly, it's even yellower, actually, his.
Right. Yes.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, I think this is probably a as close a rendering as you're going to get.
The greens are stronger too, aren't they, on the tree? The greens on the trees I've got aren't nearly as green as that.
Well, they're sort of a sage green, aren't they, with a bluey grey green for the darks.
But his are really quite a good green.
Yes, I mean, that's a nice green, isn't it? There.
Very nice. Mine are sort of rather...
I'll see if I can go in. No, I can't go in anymore, I'm afraid.
No, fine.
Yeah.
But
it is interesting because when I've looked through so many landscape paintings of his and Leslie Worth's, and none of them are sort of, like when you look out at my garden, it's sort of such a clean green. But when you look at paintings, I don't know what it's to do with the age of the paintings or what it is, but you never get that sort of clean, clear, kind of bright green that you get in reality.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, does anybody have any views on this?
I wonder if it's just a matter of fashion, what was considered sort of artistic or something like that.
Yes.
Go for sludgy colours rather than...
And also there'll be lines. At what point will we sort of rub out the lines?
Well, you certainly don't want the grid line I'm going to rub out before I do the sky, because otherwise it's going to get in the way. So that's coming out for a kickoff. I would, well, I'm gonna leave my lines at the minute. I'm just going to get the raw sienna in and then let it dry, and then I'm going to rub the lines out. I mean, it would be quite nice to, well, in a way, maybe you should rub it out before. I don't know. Trouble is, if I rub this away, you won't see it, and I will see it enough. Maybe it's a good idea to rub the lines out of the cloud shapes, but just so you can just about see them, because once you've done the raw sienna, you've got your, I mean, ideally, what you should be doing is the two colours together, so they just slightly fuse on where they meet, but that may be tricky.
Okie doke, yes.
Yeah. So maybe just, if you've got a hard dark line around your clouds, just lift it off and just have a little pale line that you can barely see.
Yeah, okay.
So, for instance, I've just put a bit of colour in the space there, and then I'm going to take my clean brush and just feather it up to the line, so you know, it doesn't go beyond that pencil line. But I'm using water so that it will actually soften it when it meets the cloud edge, so it's not a hard, crisp colour, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you can see that. There's still a bit of my line showing, so I will rub that out shortly. I think where the colour comes down to the trees, it's not so critical. You can actually put it across those trees if you want to, or you can go around them. It doesn't really matter, because by the time you've got the green on, that pale raw sienna is not going to show up anyway. So I'm just not going to worry too much about going around the shapes here at the bottom. I'm just going to take it right the way over to just down to the horizon line, I think. The yellow I'm talking about, the raw sienna. And then there's a touch more yellow up the top here. I'm starting on the next colour, which is the sort of purpley grey. And I would just use some ultramarine and a little bit of burnt sienna if you've got some. If not, you can just put raw sienna in it. You don't need very much, you need the tiniest of bits.